thank you very much for making the effort to come along to this, the second Surrey Vegan Fair. Quite a nice day for it, which is great. Lots of new faces. So, just to kick off then, Peter Egan will be giving the opening address. If you don't know Peter, you might remember him if you're as old as me in the sitcom called Every Decreasing Circles. Character called Paul Ryman, and he was more recently in Downton Abbey. He was Hugh Shrimpy McClare, Marquis of Flintshire, where he refused to have meat from his plate in the dinner scenes, I understand. So Peter's a long-time animal lover. He was a vegetarian until January 2016 when he did the Veganuary challenge, and he's been vegan ever since. And starting around 2010, he began to campaign publicly on behalf of animal rights and animal welfare. He's an ambassador for the dog rescue charity Saving Suffering Strays in Surrey, Egan. They've got a stall here. In fact, he and his wife adopted their Bosnian dog Titus from the dog rescue, and they support the only person out there who's running it, a lady called Milena Milesevic. He's an active ambassador for Animals Asia, who also got a stall here today, and they work to end cruelty to animals in Asia, particularly focusing on biofarming for bears, which is a pretty horrendous practice. He's patron of All Dogs Matter, a dog rescue and home charity around London and Norfolk, and in May 2015 he became patron of the Chaldon Animal Sanctuary, a charity that offers home for life for dogs and cats, and he took one of the Bosnian dogs, now named Crusoe, to the sanctuary there in May. In August 2015, he was announced as patron of the science-based campaign for Life on Earth, which fights against animal testing in the field of human research, and he's also patron for Dr. Hadron Trust, who also campaign for against animal testing. He's a patron for Compassion in World Farming and a vice president of both the League Against Cruel Sports and the RSPCA. Now, one thing you can say about Peter, he's a man that can't say no very easily. And thank goodness he didn't say no to us today, so I'll pass you over to Peter.
Oh, great. I'm going to hire him as my PR man. First of all, it's really great to be here, and it's very nice to see you. And I've got this stool for when I get tired. I always feel a bit hesitant when I start talking about, well, myself, or certainly about being vegan. I mean, I'm committed and I adore being a vegan. Because that's my agent. Hello, how are you? Hello. There you are. She'll never remember this. I mean, first of all, of course, whatever I say about myself, I think one should take advice about everything. So if you're choosing to be a vegan, you shouldn't do it because someone tells you to without, doing a bit of research. I think one should research every big choice one makes in one's life anyway, whether it be having a partner, having a child, having a career, and certainly adopting a life which I find to be incredibly stimulating and creative and exciting, and that is to choose to pursue a cruelty life in terms of diet. I'm an ethical vegan because the reason I decided to give up eating flesh was after watching a film called Earthlings. I don't know if you've seen Earthlings, all of you. It's a magnificent film by Sean Monson, and it's about industrialized slaughter. Are we all vegans here today?
Yes, nearly. Yeah.
Nearly all. Great. I say nearly. Great. That's fantastic. I mean, essentially, I think if the world cut out meat twice a week or once a week, it would make such a phenomenal difference in terms of slaughter throughout the world. So we all have our own journey. So there's nothing wrong with being on the way, so long as you're on the way.
I'm 8 years vegetarian, so I'm just...
Yeah, that's great. I was talking about it earlier, what is extraordinary is what we eat is so hidden in terms of its production from us, and the cruelty is so hidden. And it's only if you go out of your way to watch things like Earthlings that you really see what the horror that animals go through in order for us to have hamburgers or our Sunday roast or our leg of lamb or that, you know. And it also is very coercive, the food industry, because it encourages you to believe that you possess what you eat. So people refer to meat as my meat. You know, I so often hear people say, no, I can't do without my meat. And of course it's not anyone's meat, it's a poor animal's body. And yeah, I read a very interesting thing quite recently. Leonardo da Vinci, hundreds of years ago, made a remarkable statement which I sort of live by, which is that if you eat the dead flesh of other animals, you turn your body into a graveyard. Your body becomes a coffin for dead flesh. And it's a remarkable image, that, and I think about that quite a lot. But anyway, up until watching Earthlings, I sort of obliviously carried on being what the 6 billion people on this planet are. I was a kind of happy and careless carnivore. And but the moment I addressed the problem, it opened a door for me that is set me on a path that I can never return from. And I'm deeply grateful for that, because I feel much happier being in the place that I am now. And I sometimes, I know one shouldn't waste time with guilt and stuff like that, but I was born a Catholic, so I'm brought up a Catholic, so I can't help it. But I feel incredibly guilty about not taking the time to find out, you know, not taking the time to see the appalling situation that exists for animals, both on the way to slaughter, but in the act of slaughter. And it is quite heartbreaking. And you see stockmen kicking calves along the line and turning and saying, yeah, he's just being lazy, as if the animal should run joyously towards its slaughter. It's an appalling position to take. And it has been compared, and I don't mean to be offensive to anyone when I say this, because it's been compared by Holocaust survivors to those terrible gas chambers that existed, those slaughter chambers that existed in the Second World War, where 6 million Jews were slaughtered. And it's strange that we can't have the disconnect, that we create a disconnect between that and animals. And that's, of course, because we have this belief that animals are animals, we are humans, and we experience, you know, a more dimensioned, sentient life. And of course we don't. I started rescuing dogs with my wife Myra about 25 years ago. And even then, you know, I wasn't kind of crossing over from because I'm passionate about dogs. I'm now passionate about all creatures, but I'm passionate about dogs. And 17 years ago, one of the dogs I rescued was I was in a rescue in Watford, and they were showing me around their cattery. And a bucket was on the floor and it was moving around. And I said, what's that? And they said, oh, that's a little puppy. And the puppy's too small to be in the dog area. So it's in the cat area where it's more confined and then controllable. And I said, can I have a look at it? And they said, yes. So I tipped up the bucket. And it really had running around the floor. It was rather wonderful. So I picked it up and looked under it. And out came this puppy that could fit in my hand, attached to my beard, which was quite long. And so I said to my wife, Myra, I think I've been chosen. And I had, of course. And this was a spaniel collie, I suppose it's Polly. It had a white bib and a black coat. And so we called him Dinner Jacket, DJ. And he became my gatekeeper in many ways, just as Earthlings became my gatekeeper in terms of diet. So DJ became my gatekeeper in terms of animals. And I used to talk to him quite a lot because he's the only person who'd ever listened to me. But and I had a wonderful sense one time of talking to him, and I'm sure all of you who have owned dogs will feel this. I knew he was listening to me, and I knew he was absorbing what I was saying, and I knew that he was, this does sound fanciful, but I knew that he was telling me something about animals, and it was to do with sentience. So that sort of took me on a longer journey, and through my commitment to dog rescue, as part of a rescue in North London called All Dogs Matter, and still am for 10 years, and we rehome about 300 dogs a year. And I then got asked by other charities to become involved with them, one which was mentioned earlier, Animals Asia, a charity that I'm absolutely devoted to, because they rescue bears from bile farms in China. There's something like 12,000 bears in bile farms in China at this very moment. They have their bile extracted from their gallbladder daily in the most horrendous way. Anybody here heard of Animals Asia?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But if you haven't, I would say just Google them, have a look at them. It's founded and run by possibly the most inspirational person I've ever met in my life. Her name is Jill Robinson. And when she started working in China 25 years ago, there was one animal charity, indigenous animal charity, and 20 odd years later there's over 150, and it's all as a result of the great work she's doing in that country, bringing animal welfare to a very challenging theatre. She has a principle that I identify with and use very much, and that's one life. The thing I mentioned earlier, that we all only have one life, and she is just brilliant. So I do a lot of work, but I have a big event tomorrow evening with a person who I have great admiration for, and who's also a great friend, the keyboard player Rick Wakeman. He's doing an event for us in Surrey, and that's for the bears. I also do a lot of work. I just came back from Korea in January. I was on a dog meat farm. I'm making a film about the dog meat trade. Dog meat business in Southeast Asia is just horrendous, and that also, if you can think that our favourite companionable animal is kept in a cage from birth, never touches the ground. They're in cages that are off the floor by about 18 inches, and they just live in the cage. They're fed slops, and when you approach the I hesitate to use the word farm, because there's no husbandry in this. When you approach this facility, apart from the wails of the dog, which will remain in my memory forever, you are assaulted by this disgusting smell. The smell is piles of excrement under the cages and urine. And these dogs, who have the greatest sense of smell, live in this disgustingly intoxicating environment until they are hauled from the cage and then savagely butchered so that someone can eat them. And I mention that it's horrible, but that's exactly the same as the pig industry or the lamb industry or the meat industry. It's all the same, basically. And we are encouraged to believe that there is humane slaughter. And I'm very interested in humane slaughter, because when I find out what it is, I'm going to sign up for it so that I can have it when I reach the end of my life. But so far I haven't, no matter how people relate to humane science and slaughter, I haven't seen it. Being vegan does answer, for me, all my concerns in terms of animal welfare. And as I said at the beginning, people, when I first decided to be a vegan, people said, "Oh God, don't do that, don't become one of them, oh God, you'll become boring, you don't have any fun, you're moaning all the time about what you eat." And of course, it's entirely wrong. I mean, the most interesting people I meet are vegans, and the most creative people I meet are vegans, and they're great company. And these events are wonderful, because what is wonderful about being at vegan events is you don't have a sense of aggression. It's incredibly, going next door, there's a wonderful sense of warmth and fun and creativity. I'm thrilled by the fact that each vegan event I go to, and here in the room today, there are so many young people. And of course, you know, it's a cliche, I know, but it is the young who are going to change all of this. Did anyone see the film Carnage that was on recently? I mean, a remarkable film set in England 100 years hence, where people have to go through therapy because of the guilt they feel because of the meat they've eaten. And I thought, what a great concept, because it's true. We should all feel, I feel guilty about the amount of animals that I contributed to their slaughter. It's awful. So if you haven't watched it, you can get it on iPlayer, Carnage. It's worth, you know, it's really worth watching. What did I mention? Say again?
Young people.
Young people, thank you. This is the problem with old people, isn't it? That bloody memory thing. I sometimes wonder why I'm an actor, really. I've been trying to find out if there's an implant I can put in for the lines I have to learn. So yes, throughout the world, but certainly in Southeast Asia, it is the young who are changing attitudes. So sometimes it's a great export from the UK is animal welfare. Wherever you go in the world, you know, it's amazing. You will find a Brit there with a sanctuary or a shelter or trying to save something. And I think it's wonderful. And I think also animal welfare is the issue of the century. What I'm going to do, rather than, I'm very happy to answer any questions, by the way. If you haven't have any, I'm very happy if you haven't. I also rescued a dog, you mentioned it, from Sarajevo, a dog called Titus. And during my journey into being vegan, and so I was talking to my wife about getting rid of all my leather shoes, everything that contained animal stuff. And Titus, the dog we rescued from Sarajevo, must have been listening to this, because that evening he ate all my leather shoes. So I got in touch, which was wonderful. I thanked him for it afterwards. I was thinking, what the hell have you done? After that, I thanked him for it, and then I got in touch with Eco-Vegan, which is a great shoe company. If you don't know them, Eco-Vegan produce the most comfortable, wonderful shoes, and I love wearing them. And I'm not an agent for them, they're just a great place. So what I'd like to do is just read you this. It's quite short, but it really sums up everything I feel, not just about dogs. It's called Just a Dog, but it sums up everything I feel about animals, how we should not destroy them. I think also we should have animal welfare on the curriculum in our schools. I think we should also have veganism as an alternative in terms of dietary classes in schools. And I think that there should be a movement to turn all zoos into sanctuaries, because we are living with a Victorian mindset about animals on every single level. And zoos make it acceptable for people to believe that animals are there for our entertainment, and they're not. And particularly with the way that, excuse me, filming has gone, you know, with hidden cameras. You can see wild animals in their own habitat in the most remarkable way, doing things that, you know, you could never see in a cage. Also, I'm sure you're all also aware of canned hunting. Are you aware of canned hunting? Where people can go and there are farms in Africa where they have lions and tigers, and they in fact people pay up to $1,000 a week to go and cuddle one of these tigers or one of these lions as a cub. And these lions, when they reach adulthood, are then sold off to a hunter who bids to shoot a people-friendly lion. It's called canned hunting. You could Google it, and if you don't agree with it, which of course I don't, and I'm sure you wouldn't, there's always ways of just, you know, if any of you are on the social airwaves, I would say just, you know, keep getting the message out, because if we don't, like on Tuesday, Theresa May has said that if they get, which is going to happen, a Conservative majority of up to 100 they're going to have an open vote to repeal the Hunting Act. So they're going to send us back to 2004 and beyond, whereas we should be going forward and not backwards in our perceptions. So, I mean, I mentioned that to you because you may want to think about that, because it's a very important vote we're all going to be making. And if your MP supports repealing the Hunting Act, I think it is such a devastating comment on the sensibilities of your MP that it's worth considering in terms of how you feel about how you want your life represented. And I think a compassionate and creative democratic life is the only life that we should be fighting for in our society, and not one that appeals to a small knot of vicious hunters who want to control our society in a way which is not egalitarian, for want of a better word. That's my political statement. So here's, this is anonymous, but it's a lovely piece of writing. It's called Just a Dog. From time to time, people tell me, lighten up, it's just a dog. Or that's a lot of money for just a dog. They don't understand the distance travelled, the time spent, or the costs involved for just a dog. Some of my proudest moments have come about with just a dog. Many hours have passed, and my only company was just a dog. But I did not once feel slighted. Some of my saddest moments sorry, that's a thought of DJ came there. Some of my saddest moments have been brought about by just a dog. And in those days of darkness, the gentle touch of just a dog gave me comfort and reason to overcome the day. If you too think it's just a dog, then you probably understand phrases like just a friend, just a sunrise, or just a promise. Just a dog brings into my life the very essence of friendship, trust, and pure, unbridled joy. Just a dog brings out the compassion and patience that makes me a better person. Because of just a dog, I will rise early, take long walks, and look longingly to the future. So for me and folks like me, it's not just a dog, but an embodiment of all the hopes and dreams of the future, the fond memories of the past, and the pure joy of the moment. Just a dog brings out what's good in me and diverts my thoughts away from myself and the worries of the day. I hope that someday they can understand that it's not just a dog, but the thing that gives me humanity and keeps me from being just a man or just a woman. So the next time you hear the phrase, just a dog, just smile, because they just don't understand. That sort of sums it up for me. I may have gone on too long. If anyone wants to ask a quick question, I'm happy to answer it. Don't feel obliged to. It's been really lovely being here with you this morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I hope you continue into the most exciting part of your lives, and that will be the vegan part of it. I hope it's not money.
No. Well, first of all, I was going to say I was really moved by that.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks so much. Is this Egan? Yes, I hope so. I was really moved by that, and it made me think about Michael Pittman. Is it right to keep animals that eat meat?
Is it right that animals eat meat?
Well, yeah, you know, your dogs. Is it? I mean, like, if you take responsibility for a dog,
I was talking about that.
Don't you have to buy them meat to eat? I'm just curious.
I know, absolutely. It's a fair question, because it's a question I ask myself as well a lot. And there is a vegan dog outlet in there today. I was talking to them about it this morning, and I was talking to Louise. Louise is still here, she's gone out. In fact, Louise was saying that, in fact, in terms of whatever the word is, dietary necessity. Cats are natural carnivores, and there's something about not eating meat that will have an effect on their systems, so they do need to have meat. Now you can think that a cat descends. The baby's agreeing again. It's doing really great. It's so lovely. I mean it seriously. It's wonderful. It's lovely to have babies around. One of the great things about being a grandparent is that you can hand them back. But a cat would be descended, I suppose, from a natural predator. It's a question I haven't totally got an answer to, but I would say where you can, dogs respond very, very well to a vegan diet. My dogs love pasta and rice and vegetables and things like that. I think it is possible. It's a choice, again. But these things, I think, will be aligned with your personal choice, how much you are committed to the belief that the production of meat is bad for you. I'm not suggesting that you're a meat eater or not, but so I think you will find a strand where something connects, and it will come from yourself rather than a broad generalization about animals eating meat. There are, of course, natural predators that exist, and because of how we have colonized land, we have made it impossible for natural predators to exist. So I mean, you know, in the wild, you know, lions and tigers will pursue a carnivorous diet, and I wouldn't try to talk them out of that. It's like the whole thing is, it's corporate, financially led control or sport, and I'm totally against sport that kills animals for fun, and I'm totally against when you have an alternative, corporations encouraging you to eat more and more meat.
Both dogs and cats thrive on vegan diet.
Oh, great, lovely.
Oh, yeah, did you
I
hear
wish
that?
you jumped in earlier.
Well, both cats and dogs thrive on vegan diet. There is a completely vegan store in Manchester called Unicorn, and you get complete vegan cat food, complete vegan dog food. It's little known this, but it is so. Do check it out, because it's pretty vital, because we can't just keep the slaughterhouses open for the cats and dogs.
Absolutely right. Fantastic. Well, Unicorn.
Unicorn in Manchester.
Fantastic.
It's a wonderful store.
Great, marvellous.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there. Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about the slaughtering of animals for food.
Yeah.
And, you know, thank you. About the slaughtering of animals for food.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it called halal.
Halal. Yeah.
Halal.
Yeah. That's halal and kosher.
Yeah. So what's your views on that? Because
I think it's shocking.
that's still not.
I think it's,
in how it's slaughtered.
if we're going to live in a society where meat is produced at the level that it is, if we're going to have halal slaughter and have kosher slaughter, I think it should all be labelled. All we have is halal slaughter, it's labelled, and also meat that you are buying in supermarkets is probably slaughtered in the halal method, and you may not choose that method because you prefer to have your animal stunned before it has its throat cut. So I think that the least that one can do if one is going to pursue a meat diet is to insist on the labelling of meat and say, is my meat stunned? Is it halal or is it kosher? But in principle, because I'm against slaughter, I'm against it all, and I do not understand why, because of an archaic religious belief, an animal has to be alive when you slaughter it, and you cut its throat, and you bleed it, because you may have eaten meat in a country hundreds of years ago that didn't have fridges and didn't have the conditions that we have now to protect the health of the animal. I've done against it. Anyone else? Anything?
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. Slight change of subject, but Well, I'm interested in hearing what's the reaction of your fellow actors and other people in your kind of general acting community?
Well, yes, that's an interesting question. I mean, I do find now, I spend a lot of time filming on location. It's part of my contract that they have to supply me with vegan food. So there's always a vegan option, even if it's only for me, which irritates the caterer quite a lot. But there's always I mean, it's funny enough, when I was filming 2 weeks ago on Midsummer Murders, the caterer, for some reason, I filmed at the beginning, I had a bit of time off, and I came back to film, and they kind of lost contact with the fact that I was the vegan, and I was the vegan in the mix. And so I went, you know, you queue up in the middle of the day for your lunch, and they had a vegetarian option, and I said, look, I'm sorry, I'm a vegan. And the caterer said, well, look, I can scrape the cheese off the shepherd's pie. And I said, look, I've got a very good sense of humour, but I just want you to know that you've really insulted me. Because this is something I care passionately about. It's not scraping the cheese off some kind of corn, which also isn't vegan anyway. It's because I have taken an ethical choice, a philosophical choice. It's not fanciful. I care passionately about it. And for a chef, you're really stupid. So, no, that doesn't actually get me many friends, but what I find happens a lot when I sit down with a lot of my friends, and there are a lot of vegan actors as well, a lot of actors. You don't have to go away, you really don't. It doesn't bother me, I'm really delighted. Honestly. Please go away if you're bored, but don't worry. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a great sound. I really do. So a lot of the time, I find that I sit down to eat with people and they apologise. They say, "I'm sorry. I'm having a steak." And I always say to them, "Please don't apologise to me. Apologise to the animal." So it does happen quite a lot. I try to deal with it as much as I can, as humorously as I can, and I also try to talk about the general sense of being detached from how food is produced, you know. So there are always ways that one can go into the conversation about it, and I do try to do it in as open and non-aggressive way as possible, because people close down with aggression, basically, you know. And it's we want to open people up. I mean, meat eating does speak for itself. If you look at the obesity in America, the obesity that's coming into China now, they're introducing more meat into China, into the diets. They have huge farms producing pig slaughter. And I mean, I see Donald Trump this week hailing the great deal he's done. They're going to export a huge amount of beef from America to China, and they're going to import a lot of cooked chicken. And he's waving that as the most magnificent flag. And they think, oh my God, you know, it's just, I just hope that Comey actually gets all the stuff on him and he gets kicked out. So anyway, I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I mean, I am so committed to being vegan. I'm so happy being vegan, and I don't mean that in a self-satisfied way. I mean it in a very, very creative way. And I'm very happy if someone wants to talk to me about it, because I'm sitting with them and they're eating a bowl of, you know, mince and stuff. If they want to talk about it, I'm happy to. If they don't, I'm happy to, and I'm also very happy not to sit with them as well. Whenever people say to me, but you know, vegans go on about it so much. Don't go on. I said, look around at this table. Shepherd's pie, chicken, steak and kidney pie. That. And look at mine, no meat. And who is being coercive here? You complain, me one person, that I'm trying to influence you. Look at the influence of the activity here. And you accept all of that. You don't complain because you like it. And I try to encourage people. I say, try my food and see if you like that. 9 times out of 10 they do. But it does take a commitment. And like everything, you have to pass through that door. And once you pass through that door, it's in the most amazing world. That's all I say to everyone, what I say to all of you here, and most of you know it better than I do anyway. Veganism is creative, it's exciting, and it's healthy, and I love it. That's about it then, folks. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.